Welcome back to Story Haven. I am so glad you found your way here today. Come on in, shut the door against the wind. I don't know about where you are, but out here, the world feels a little bit frantic today. The wind is howling against the glass, and, everyone seems to be rushing from point A to point B with their heads down.
Yeah.
But inside here, we have the fire crackling, the chairs are soft, and we have nowhere else to be.
It really is a sanctuary, isn't it? I think that's why I look forward to these deep dives so much. It's a chance to just press pause.
Right.
We spend so much of our lives reacting to things, reacting to emails, reacting to the news, reacting to bills. It's rare that we give ourselves permission to just sit, breathe, and, think about the foundation of it all.
Exactly. And that is really the spirit of what we are doing today. We aren't here to shout at you about the stock market or give you a list of 10 things you need to do before breakfast to be a millionaire.
No, not at all.
We aren't financial gurus standing on a stage with a microphone. We're just two friends sitting by the fire, talking about a book that has quietly and sometimes loudly changed the way millions of people look at their lives.
We are returning to the world of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And specifically, we are opening the pages to Chapter 3. The chapter is titled, Mind Your Own Business.
Mind your own business.
Yeah.
Every time I hear that phrase outside of this context, it feels like a slap on the wrist.
It does.
It's what you say to a nosy neighbor or a sibling who is prying into your diary. It sounds like a reprimand. Hey, mind your own business.
It does carry a bit of a sting, doesn't it? It sounds defensive. But in the context of this story, in the context of what Robert Kiyosaki is trying to teach us, it is actually the most inviting, liberating phrase in the book.
Interesting.
It's not a command to shut others out. It's an invitation to invite yourself in. It's an invitation to stop building everyone else's world and start laying, the first brick of your own.
That is such a beautiful way to frame it. I think so many of us, especially if you're listening to this on your commute or while you're folding laundry after a long day, we feel that exhaustion of the rat race. And it's not just physical tiredness. It's a spiritual fatigue. You work hard, you give it your best, you get the paycheck, and then, poof, it's gone. The mortgage, the car payment, the taxes.
Yeah.
You feel like you're running on a treadmill that's set just a little bit too fast.
That image of the treadmill is perfect. You are sweating, your heart is pounding, you are putting in the effort, but the scenery never changes.
Never.
You aren't moving forward. And what this chapter suggests is that the reason we feel stuck on that treadmill isn't because we aren't working hard enough.
Right.
It's because we are minding the wrong business. We are spending our lives minding our employer's business or the government's business or the bank's business.
So today, we are going to learn how to step off that treadmill. We're going to look at the difference between your profession, what you do, and your business, what you own. And we're going to do it through stories. Because that's what we do here at Story Haven. We learn through the lives of others.
And we have a fantastic story to start with. It's a story that Robert tells right at the beginning of the chapter, and it takes us back a few decades.
Let's set the scene.
Yeah.
It is 1974. We are in Austin, Texas, the University of Texas.
Okay.
I want you to picture the fashion, maybe some wide lapels, some bell-bottoms, a lot of polyester.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
The air is thick with ambition because we are in an MBA classroom. These are the future masters of the universe. They are studying to be executives, CEOs, the movers and shakers of the economy.
And they have a guest speaker that day who is basically royalty in the business world, Ray Kroc.
The man himself.
The man who took a small burger stand run by two brothers and turned it into McDonald's, a global empire that, it changed the way the world eats. By 1974, he is a legend.
Absolutely.
He's rich, he's successful, and he's standing in front of these students giving, presumably, a very powerful lecture on business strategy.
And once the lecture is over, the class ends, but the students aren't done with him. They're captivated. So they ask him the most important question a college student can ask. Ray, would you like to join us for a beer?
Which, to his credit, he accepts. So the scene shifts. They leave the sterile classroom and go to a local bar.
Right.
You can imagine the atmosphere changing. It's dimmer, maybe a little smoky back then. The jukebox is playing. Everyone has a cold beer in hand. The tie is loosened. It's a relaxed, friendly vibe. And in the middle of this, Ray Kroc leans in. He looks around the table at these bright young students and he asks a question.
Yes. Who can tell me what business I'm in?
Now, I want you to imagine the reaction. Pause for a second and think about how that would land. Everyone at the table probably froze.
Yeah.
They looked at each other. They looked at their beers. And then they started to laugh.
Of course they laughed. They thought he was joking. It's Ray Kroc. It's the McDonald's guy. It feels like a trick question or just, a bit of old man humor.
Exactly. They thought he was playing a game. So finally, one of the students, probably the bravest one in the bunch, speaks up. He says, "Ray, come on. We all know what business you're in. You're in the hamburger business."
It's the obvious answer. It's the Golden Arches. It's the Big Mac. It's the fries. If you ask anyone on the street in 1974 or today, what does McDonald's do? They will say they sell burgers.
But Ray didn't just nod and say, "Yep." He chuckled. He said, "I knew you'd say that."
Oh, I love that.
And then he paused, let the silence hang there for a moment and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate."
My business is real estate.
Oh, wow. Imagine being one of those MBA students. You just spent years studying business models, and the king of fast food tells you he doesn't care about the food.
Right.
That must have been a mind-bending moment. It completely shattered their perception. And Ray went on to explain it, and this explanation is the key to our entire discussion today. He said, "Look, my profession, what I do day to day, what I sell is franchises. I am a salesman. I sell the rights to open a McDonald's. But the business, the underlying engine of wealth, is the land."
Okay, let's unpack that because I think it's easy to miss the nuance there.
Mm-mm.
How does selling a burger franchise equal real estate?
Well, Ray understood something fundamental. He knew that the primary factor that determined whether a burger joint succeeded or failed was its location.
Location, location, location.
Precisely. You can have the best burger in the world, but if you're hidden in a back alley where no one walks by, you go broke. But if you are on a busy corner near a school or a highway, you can sell anything.
That makes sense.
So the way he structured the McDonald's organization was brilliant. If you wanted to buy a franchise, you didn't just pay a fee for the name, you effectively leased the land from Ray's organization.
Oh, I see.
McDonald's would buy the prime real estate, the busy intersections, the corner lots, and the franchisee would pay rent for that location.
So the person flipping the burgers is working to pay the rent to Ray?
Exactly. The franchisee is in the hamburger business. Ray Kroc is in the real estate business. And the result of this strategy is, it's staggering.
Yeah.
The source material points out that today, McDonald's is the largest single owner of real estate in the world. They own more land than the Catholic Church.
That is wild to think about. More than the Catholic Church.
It's hard to even comprehend.
Yeah.
They own the most valuable intersections and street corners across the globe. While everyone else was looking at the price of beef or the texture of the buns, Ray was looking at the map. He was playing a completely different game.
And this story is the perfect entry point into the chapter because it highlights the distinction that most of us miss. We confuse our profession with our business.
We do. And it's not our fault, really. It's how we are trained. It's how the system is set up.
Right. If we were at a dinner party and I turned to you and asked, "So what is your business?" You'd probably answer with your job title. You'd say, "I'm a banker," or "I'm a teacher," or "I'm a writer."
And according to the philosophy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that is technically incorrect. That is your profession. That is what you do to generate cash, but it isn't your business. Your business is what your assets do.
The book has this phrase that really stuck with me. The problem with school is that you become what you study.
Oh, that is a profound line. Think about it. If you go to school and study cooking, you become a chef.
Right.
If you study the law, you become a lawyer. If you study auto mechanics, you become a mechanic.
And on the surface, that sounds fine. That sounds like a career path.
It is a career path, and we need chefs and lawyers and mechanics.
Yep.
Society depends on them. But the trap, the financial trap, is that you become so identified with the profession that you forget to mind your own business. You spend your life working in the profession, making money, but you never build anything that exists outside of you.
You spend your life minding everyone else's business.
Yes, and the text is actually quite specific about who you are working for when you only have a profession. It's a hierarchy, and when you see it laid out, it's a little bit terrifying.
Let's walk through it. Who is the first person we work for?
First, you work for the boss,
The employer.
the owner, the shareholders. You go to work, you produce value, and that value ultimately enriches the person who owns the company. You are an asset to them, but you are not building an asset for yourself. You are trading your time for their money, but the equity belongs to them.
Okay, so that's the first slice of the pie gone. Who is the second person we work for?
You work for the government.
Taxes.
And it's not just a small slice. The text highlights a statistic, and this varies by country and bracket, of course. But for many middle-class people, they are effectively working from January through May just to cover their tax burden to the government.
That is a depressing way to look at a calendar. I mean, imagine walking into work every day for 5 months, knowing that not a single cent you earned during that time is actually yours to keep.
It is sobering. You are a government employee for 5 months of the year, essentially.
Wow.
And then finally, who is the third entity you work for?
The bank.
The bank. Your mortgage. Your car loan. Your credit card interest. After the boss takes the profit from your labor and the government takes the tax, the bank takes a huge chunk of what's left in the form of interest payments.
So if I only have a job, a profession, I'm essentially a servant to the boss, the government, and the bank.
That is the definition of the rat race. You are running faster and faster. You get a promotion. Great, now you pay more taxes.
Right.
You buy a bigger house to celebrate. Great, now you have a bigger mortgage for the bank. You work harder for the boss. You are constantly minding everyone else's business, making them richer, while your own balance sheet stays flat.
It makes you feel very vulnerable when you lay it out like that, because if you stop running,
If you stop running, the whole machine stops. Because you are the machine.
you are the machine.
In a true business, the machine runs without you. And that's why Robert says financial security, true peace of mind, requires minding your own business.
Okay.
It means keeping your day job. He's not telling you to quit tomorrow and be reckless, but it means shifting your focus. It means pouring your mental energy and your spare cash into the asset column.
This brings us to a really tricky part of the chapter, and I think this is where a lot of people, myself included, get tripped up. It's the definition of an asset.
Oh, yes. The great misunderstanding. This is where emotions really get in the way of math.
Because we all like to feel wealthy, right? We want to feel successful. So we look around our lives and we count our stuff.
We do.
I look at my house, I look at the car in the driveway, I look at the nice television, maybe the expensive golf clubs in the garage, and I say, well, look at all these assets. I'm doing okay.
That is the comforting lie we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reinforced by the banking system, which is the confusing part.
How so?
The source material tells a great story about this. Robert decides to apply for a loan. Now, at this point, he's doing well in his investments, but his financials looked a little bit shaky on paper to a traditional banker because he didn't have a high salary.
He had wealth, but he didn't have a job in the traditional sense.
Right. So he fills out the loan application, and on the application, there's a section for assets. And just like everyone else, he wants to look good. He wants to impress the loan committee. So what does he list?
He lists everything. He lists his Armani suits. He lists his golf clubs.
Everything.
He lists his art collection. He lists his electronics, his shoes, his wristwatches.
He pads the list. He inflates his net worth by listing his consumer goods as assets.
And what happened?
The loan committee rejected him.
Of course.
And they probably rolled their eyes. Because they know, even if we pretend we don't, that an Armani suit is not capital. You can't pay a mortgage with a used suit.
This is the net worth myth, isn't it?
It is. We are often taught that net worth equals assets minus liabilities. But if your assets are just piles of depreciating stuff, that number is an illusion.
Let's talk about that depreciation, because the book is pretty brutal about it.
It pulls no punches. It uses the example of a new car. We love new cars. The smell, the shine, we feel like $1 million driving off the lot.
Yeah.
But financially,
It's a disaster.
the moment, the absolute second you drive that car off the lot and onto the street, it loses 25% of its value.
25% instantly.
Poof, gone. You haven't even gotten it home yet, and you've lost a quarter of your investment. It is not an asset. It is a liability.
Right.
It costs you money. It eats gas. It eats insurance. It demands repairs. It is a hungry pet, not a worker.
There's another specific example in the notes that made me laugh, but it also hurt a little bit. The golf clubs.
The titanium driver.
Yes. The $400 titanium driver.
You buy it for $400. You are so excited. You take it to the range. You tee up one ball. Whack. Congratulations. It is now a used club worth $150.
Ouch. That stings.
It hurts because it's true. And look, Storyhaven isn't about saying you can't have golf clubs. We aren't saying you can't have nice suits. Life is for living.
Of course.
But the point of this deep dive is clarity. Don't lie to yourself. Don't call the golf club your business. It's your toy. It's your hobby. It's a consumption item.
So, minding your own business means ignoring the illusion of stuff and focusing on things that actually have value, things that grow.
Things that have a market. That's the key. An asset puts money in your pocket, a liability takes money out. It's that simple.
Okay, so let's get practical. We've cleared the weeds. We've admitted that our golf clubs aren't going to save us. If we are sitting here in our comfortable chairs visualizing our future, what should we be planting in our garden? The book actually gives us a garden of true assets.
It does, a specific list of 7 categories. And I love the metaphor of the garden because it implies patience. You don't plant a seed and demand fruit the next morning. You have to water it. You have to wait. But once it grows, it feeds you.
So let's walk through the list. What is the first seed we can plant?
Number 1 is the gold standard for the rich. Businesses that do not require your presence.
Do not require your presence. I want to double click on that. Why is that distinction so important?
It is the difference between freedom and slavery. Robert says, I own them, but they are managed or run by other people.
Right.
If you have to be there, if you have to unlock the door at 8 a.m., check the inventory, manage the staff, deal with the angry customer, it is not a business, it is a job.
You've just bought yourself a job.
And likely a more stressful job than the one you had before.
That's a good point.
The goal of a true asset is that it operates independently of you. You are the owner, not the operator.
That's a tough shift for a lot of people who take pride in doing it all themselves.
It is. But if you want freedom, you have to let go of operations.
Okay, what's next on the list?
Stocks.
The classic.
Buying a piece of a company. It's one of the easiest ways to start because you don't need millions of dollars. You can buy one share.
Amen.
Bonds, which are essentially loans. You loan money to the government or a corporation, and they pay you back with interest. It's generally safer, slower growth.
Then we have the big one for Robert. Income-generating real estate.
This is his favorite. But again, notice the adjective, income generating.
Right.
We aren't talking about the house you sleep in. That house takes money out of your pocket for repairs and mortgage. We are talking about rental properties, apartments, warehouses, land that pays you rent.
Got it. What else?
Notes. These are IOUs, debt that someone owes you.
Okay. And then there's the creative category.
Royalties.
I love this one. This is for the artists, the writers, the inventors.
Intellectual property. If you write a book or record a hit song or patent a new type of valve, you do the work once. You might work hard for a year writing that script, but then every time it sells or plays or is engaged, a check comes in.
You could be asleep, you could be on vacation, and the royalty check arrives.
That is the dream. Doing the work once and getting paid forever.
And the final category is a catch-all for everything else. Anything else that has value, produces income, or appreciates, and has a ready market.
Ready market seems like the key phrase there.
It is crucial. You might have a collection of, I don't know, rare 17th century buttons, and maybe you think they are worth a fortune.
Right.
But if there's no one who wants to buy them, if you can't turn them into cash when you need to, they aren't much of an asset. They're a museum exhibit.
Now, looking at this list, stocks, real estate, notes, patents, it can feel a little overwhelming. A listener might be thinking, do I need to be a master of all of these? Do I need to be a real estate tycoon, a stockbroker, and an inventor?
No. And this is where the chapter becomes very human and very reassuring. Robert emphasizes what I call the love factor.
A love factor.
He says, acquire assets that you love.
Why does love matter in finance? Isn't it just about the numbers? You would think so. But we are emotional creatures, Robert says plainly. If you don't love it, you won't take care of it. Think about real estate. Being a landlord isn't effortless. Toilets break. Roofs leak. Tenants have issues. If you hate houses, if you hate dealing with repairs, you are going to be miserable.
Yeah.
And when the going gets tough, you're going to panic and sell. You're going to quit.
That makes total sense. If you don't care about the asset, you won't nurture the garden.
Exactly. Robert loves real estate. He describes driving around neighborhoods, looking at land, imagining what could be built there. He finds it fun.
So it doesn't feel like work.
Right. But he also mentions he loves small cap stocks startups.
Like startups.
Because he's an entrepreneur at heart. He likes the risk. He likes the gamble of a new company. But notice his strategy changes based on the asset.
How so?
For startups, he buys them to sell within a year. He wants that quick pop in value. But for real estate, he holds for the long term, 7 years or more. He lets the value grow and uses the tax benefits.
So the lesson here isn't copy Robert, it's know yourself.
Yes, ask yourself, what interests you? Do you love technology? Maybe tech stocks or your garden? Do you love old books? Maybe rare book dealing is your niche. Do you love numbers? Maybe bonds?
It makes the process of investing feel less like homework and more like, well, like a passion project.
A hobby that builds your freedom.
I want to shift gears now to what I think is the most powerful metaphor in the entire book. When I first read this, it instantly lowered my blood pressure. It changed my relationship with the money in my wallet.
I think I know which one you mean. The dollar as an employee.
Yes, the dollar as an employee.
It is the most soothing, empowering concept in the chapter.
Explain it to us. How does a dollar become an employee?
So I want everyone listening to visualize this. Open your wallet or look at your banking app. Imagine that every single dollar you have is a little person, a little green worker.
A tiny employee in a green uniform.
Right. And here is the magic of this employee. It is better than any human employee you could ever hire. It works 24 hours a day. It never sleeps. It never calls in sick. It never asks for a raise. It never complains about the coffee in the break room.
It just works.
It works tirelessly for you. And if you treat it right, if you put it in the right place, it starts to reproduce.
Generational employment.
Exactly. When you put a dollar into the asset column, say you buy a share of stock that pays a dividend, that dollar goes to work. It earns a few cents. Those cents are its children, and then the children start working, and eventually they have children.
Compound interest.
That's the mathematical term. But breeding employees is the mindset. You are building an army, a quiet, invisible army that is fighting for your financial freedom while you are sleeping, while you are playing with your kids, while you are watching a movie.
But there's a rule. A very strict rule for this army.
The rule of the asset column. Once a dollar goes into the asset column, it never comes out.
Never.
Ideally, never. Think of it this way. When you earn a dollar at your job and you spend it on a coffee, that dollar is gone. You fired the employee. You sent him away. But if you put that dollar into an asset, it is locked in. It is working. If you sell the asset to buy a new TV, you have essentially killed the employee. You have wiped out his children and his grandchildren. You have stopped the lineage.
That is dramatic, but effective.
It has to be dramatic to break our habits. Minding your own business means acting as a fierce protector of those little green employees. You want to accumulate as many of them as possible in that asset column and let them work.
It really changes how you see spending. It's not just, can I afford this $100 pair of shoes? It's, do I want to fire these 100 employees who could be building my future?
It adds a weight to the decision, a healthy weight.
The text notes that this strategy is particularly crucial for young people.
Yes. If you are listening to this and you are in your 20s or even your teens, listen closely. This is your golden hour. Before you have the heavy burdens of life, before the marriage, the kids, the mortgage, your expenses are likely lower than they will ever be again.
You have disposable income, even if it doesn't feel like a lot.
If you can start planting those seeds now, if you can start hiring those dollar employees when you were 20, the compound effect over 40 years is massive.
It must be.
It is the difference between struggling at 60 and retiring in comfort. But parents often fail to teach this. We teach, get a good job. We don't teach, start your asset column.
And for the adults, those of us who are already deep in the rat race, is it too late?
It is never too late, but it is harder. It requires more discipline. It's about lowering expenses. Maybe you don't buy the new car. Maybe you downsize. Yeah. It's about reducing debt to free up cash flow so you can start hiring those little green dollars. It's about realizing that your job, your profession, is just a funding mechanism for your business.
That is a powerful reframing. Your job funds your business.
Yes. You are the angel investor in your own life. Every paycheck is a round of funding.
Now, I can hear the objection forming in the minds of our listener. I can feel it. They're thinking, this sounds very austere. This sounds boring. Do I never get to have fun? Do I never get to buy the nice car or the fancy bag? Do I have to live like a monk just to feed this garden?
And that is a fair question. We work hard. We want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. And this brings us to the final major lesson of the chapter, the reward.
This is the story of the Mercedes.
The Mercedes story. And I love this story because it proves that Storyhaven isn't about deprivation. It's about the right kind of abundance.
So tell us about Robert's wife, Kim, and the car.
So Kim wanted a new car. She had her eye on a Mercedes convertible, a beautiful luxury vehicle. Now let's look at this through two different lenses. The poor dad lens, the normal consumer mindset, would be to look at the sticker price and then look at the monthly payments.
Can I afford $600 a month?
Right. If I squeeze the budget, if I cut back on groceries, I can make the payment. And so they sign the loan papers.
And what have they done?
They have added a liability. They have increased their debt. And now they have to work harder. They can't quit their job because they have that car payment hanging over their head.
Mm,
They bought the luxury with sweat and stress.
that's the trap. So what did Kim do instead?
She didn't buy it. Not yet. She waited 4 years.
4 years is a long time when you want something.
It is. It takes immense patience. But during those 4 years, she wasn't just saving cash in a jar. She was working on her business. She was trading real estate.
Yeah.
She was buying properties, fixing them up, selling them, buying bigger ones. She was building her asset column
It was growing the garden.
until finally the garden produced enough fruit. The cash flow, the profit generated by her assets, was enough to cover the Mercedes.
So she didn't pay for the car. Her business paid for the car.
Her tenant's rent paid for the car. The employees she had hired over those 4 years bought the luxury for her.
That must feel incredible to drive down the street in a car that didn't cost you a single drop of your own sweat.
The text says the car tasted sweeter because of it. It wasn't a burden. It was a trophy. It was a reward for financial intelligence.
Right.
I proved I could build the machine, and the machine bought the toy.
That's the distinction. The poor and middle class buy luxuries first, using their own labor. The rich buy luxuries last, using the income from their assets.
It's delayed gratification, but with a purpose. And the text has a lovely sidebar here about the brain. It talks about the left brain versus the right brain.
Talk to us about that harmony.
So the left brain is the logical side. It's the accountant. It says, buy luxury only when assets cover it. Look at the numbers.
It's the discipline side.
Right. But the right brain is the creative side. It's the dreamer. It says, I want the pretty car. I want the beauty. I want the fun.
Usually those two sides are at war.
Usually. But in this method, they work together. The right brain provides the motivation. I want that Mercedes. The left brain provides the path. Okay, if we want the Mercedes, we need to acquire 2 more rental properties.
It turns consumer desire into investment fuel.
Exactly. And then the subconscious chimes in. Acquire assets you love so you enjoy the process. It's a holistic way of living. You aren't killing your desire, you're using it.
You know, as we sit here thinking about all of this, Ray Kroc and his hidden real estate empire, the little green employees working while we sleep, the garden growing slowly over time,
Yeah.
it really does change the feeling of the word job.
It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does. If I wake up tomorrow and go to work, and I know that I'm just doing it to pay bills until I die, that's heavy. That's the treadmill.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm going to work to fund my own little empire,
Yeah.
to buy a few more seeds for my garden, it feels different.
It gives you agency. You aren't a victim of the economy anymore. You are a participant. You are a builder.
Yeah.
Even if you are only buying 1 small stock a month, even if you are just saving up for that first down payment, you are minding your own business.
And that is the message we want to leave you with today. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to start the next McDonald's.
No, you just need to start planting.
I want to invite you, if you're in a safe place to do so, just close your eyes for a second. Let the sound of the wind outside fade away. Imagine your life 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Imagine a garden that surrounds you.
A garden of assets.
Maybe it's a portfolio of companies you believe in. Maybe it's a rental house in a neighborhood you love with a family living in it. Maybe it's a book you wrote that is still sitting on shelves.
Imagine those assets working for you. Quietly, steadily, while you sleep, while you play, covering your needs, buying your luxuries.
That is your business, not what you do 9 to 5, but what you're building for yourself.
That is true security. That is the Story Haven way.
So as you go back to your day, or as you drift off to sleep, ask yourself that question Ray Kroc asked those students in the bar. Was my business?
And don't be afraid if the answer right now is I don't have one yet. The garden starts with a single seed.
Thank you for spending this time with us. It's always a pleasure to dive deep into these stories with you.
Keep dreaming and tend to your garden.
Until next time.